You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live, Portraits, featuring intimate, in-depth interviews with Black Hollywood stars and influencers. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live Portraits, Dario Kristen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You're watching Black Hollywood Live Portraits. I'm your host, Dario Kristen, and here joining me in the studio today is the birthday girl, Courtney Stewart.
Hello.
And DJ Jesse J.
What up?
And we have a very special guest with us today that we're very excited about. You know her on Let's Stay Together on BET. Nadine Ellis is with us today.
Hey, y'all. Happy birthday, girl.
Thank you very much.
Did not realize it was your birthday. Happy.
Thank you.
She's trying to keep it a secret, I think.
I mean, I'm just not an advertiser.
Okay, I understand. I understand.
Well, Nadine, thank you for joining us in the crazy LA traffic.
Well, thank you for having me.
Congratulations on the 3rd season of Let's Stay Together.
Yes, so excited about the show. So glad that that the reception has been as amazing as it has been. I mean, the feedback we keep getting, it's just that the show keeps growing and better, and people are just excited to tune in each week. So it just warms our hearts, of course.
Yeah, when we were at the BT Upfronts, I mean, you guys, they were just praising your show.
We
So.
didn't pay them. We did not pay them.
Yeah, you didn't slip in the 20, in
No.
Well, now we know you're a double threat. You are an actress, you're a talented dancer.
I am.
But for the fans who don't know, let's go back to the very beginning of young Nadine Ellis.
When I was 3
When
years
you
old.
were a young thespian. No,
in Queens, New York.
Exactly. I mean, what age did you know you wanted to be an entertainer?
I started pretty late. I think like for a lot of children, I kind of was an okay student. I was kind of like a B+ kind of student. I was okay in sports. There was nothing that ever really that I was great at. And I just kind of thought like, oh, okay. And then I hit 13 and I saw Fame.
Oh my God, you know what's so funny?
No,
I
wait.
really was just thinking you picked
Janet Jackson fame or because
No, Debbie.
Debbie
Allen,
fame.
honey.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Leroy, honey. Back
Okay.
in the day,
All right.
bringing it back
The only
like
one.
that.
Oh,
you know.
I feel you.
And that was it. And the show I'd seen the show before. It was just this one day. Debbie Allen was dancing, and I just went, I want to do that. And when I was about 5, my parents put me into dance class, like everybody else. And I remember my mother saying, like, I had a great performance, and everyone was like, she's the star. And I was like, ah. My mother's like, do you want to go back? I was like, no, I'm done with that. It was just like I was done with it. And she was like, oh, okay. 13, I was like, I need to get back into it. And she said, okay. A week later, I was back in dance class.
That's good. She was supportive.
She was
Very,
supportive.
very. I've got great parents, and I was paddleboarding myself into my fantasy,
Right.
So,
And I also saw that outside of Debbie Allen, you really loved Diana Ross and you loved Meryl Streep. What was it about their performances that you saw that you just were like, that's who's it?
yeah, I mean, Lady Sings the Blues when you're just literally transported into that bathroom with her.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, she just, it just, I have that same reaction every time I see that film. And I think to keep that energy and that kind of performance alive and completely believe that this is this woman and
Yeah.
realizing, like, especially I'm sure for our generation, I believe that is who Billie Holiday is. I know
For
it's
sure.
not,
Yeah.
but I believed her. And to be able to bring something like that to life was always really incredible to me. And I thought, wow, yeah, I want to do that.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, those are 2 great examples of what you're talking about. Now, you grew up in New York.
I did.
Your family's from Jamaica, but they moved to New York.
That's right.
And you went to LaGuardia School of Performing Arts.
That's right. The Fame School.
The Fame School.
The Fame School, yeah.
And what was your fond memories of growing up in New York?
Well, it's kind of sad now, I think, because I remember being that kid that, during the summer, I was out I was out of the house probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you didn't see your parents again until, the street lights came on.
Right.
You knew the
Yeah.
street lights came on.
That's when you better go home,
better
or the
ring,
belt's coming
come
out.
on out. And I just remember those summers just with family, and we grew up in a very eclectic neighborhood. It was like the island neighborhood. So like I had a Puerto Rican friend across the street, Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, like Haitian, like everyone, like all on my block. So just kind of taking in the different cultures and just that life where somebody else's mother would hit you.
Yeah.
And it's sad to say that is a fond memory, but when you see the dynamics of people
understand.
now,
Yeah, I do
you're kind
understand.
of like, huh,
Oh,
what?
what's
Are you
wrong?
not going? Can you? You know what I
Right.
mean? It's really kind of sad. So I will always cherish those kinds of memories with family and friends.
So your parents were kind of strict then, a little bit.
They were, yeah. They were definitely. They were not pushovers. We'll say. That's what we'll say about them.
And I mean, I know your parents came from Jamaica and moved here. Did you, I mean, growing up with your friends, did you ever see any different type of the way they raised you differently, or
Not
were
really.
more cautious about certain things in being in New York?
I can't say that was the case because we were surrounded by island folk, and
That's true,
everyone
yeah.
had kind of that same energy. And especially when you have parents that are raised in a third world country,
Right.
there is an energy that's that you see them living through, which is you have to fight for what it is you want, because nothing is given to them. Like in Jamaica, if you don't have a job, there's no government assistance. Nobody comes in and gives you something. Like it's your friends or it's you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's your friends, family, or you. And so my parents were always very driven and definitely passed that on to me.
Were you like, are you a little bit of both of your parents, or do you see more of yourself?
Yeah, I think
Your
I'm
mother?
a little bit of both. I mean, I kind of I guess if I had to lean towards any, it's my father, because my father's kind of quiet, very practical, and I can be very practical. But my mother, like the side of me, the performance side of me, is my mother.
That's your mom.
For sure.
Your
She
dad
is-
gives more like advice.
He's the man that said to me, my sister, thank God I'm older. My sister was like a smarty pants, valedictorian, graduated with honors, went to Dartmouth, crazy. And in high school, she would always get accepted into these collegiate programs. And so we were driving her to Yale one summer, and I remember
Wow.
my father was saying to me, she was asleep in the back. And my father said, well, you can't dance forever. And I was like, yeah, I knew I can't dance forever. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I had taken some acting classes at that point in college and got some pretty good feedback. And so I said, I think I want to act. I think I'm good at it. And he said, okay, well, what do you have to do to make that happen? And I said, I think I have to move to LA. And my very
And you were how old when that?
probably 22.
Okay.
And I said, and he was just like, yeah. He said, oh, okay. And my very strict, very kind of conventional father turned to me and said, so when are you leaving?
That's amazing.
Wow.
I was like, what? Who is this?
Who is this man?
What did you do to my father? You know
Now
what
that's
I
some
mean?
support.
That was, not support. That was
That's-
like, poof.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
get
Go
up and
for
go.
it.
Get up and go,
And
right.
sure enough, I called a choreographer friend of mine, Jamie King, who hired me for a Michael Jackson
Yeah.
job here in New York. And, they're in New York. And said, listen, I'm thinking about moving out to LA. I hear that you're working on a show out there and you need some more dancers. He said, send me your reel. And a month later, I was in LA working.
And what was the Michael Jackson project?
It was an HBO special. I don't know if this was years ago. It was the Michael Jackson HBO special where he got sick and he
Okay.
had to back out of the performance. I don't know if you guys remember
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And he was in the hospital. And so it never happened, but I got my dream. Like, you guys don't even understand. Like, as a child, my room, you could not see not one stitch of my wall because it was Michael Jackson everywhere, to the point that I started going up onto the ceiling.
Yeah.
That's when my father said, no. Okay.
Now, did you
No,
dance
yeah.
to the Did you dance to the Thriller video? Did you know all the steps? 'Cause
I did.
I knew all the
I
Thriller
did. Yes,
steps. as a
I
kid.
did. I did. Yeah.
We'll have to have a
We-
dance
we
off.
might have
We
to
might have a
battle
battle
out
off
a
a little bit later. Don't give me.
battle.
Don't,
Oh, don't even do it. See,
don't
look,
let me
don't
do
even
it.
do it.
Don't let me do it. Don't let me do it.
So then to have been that kid
Yeah.
to grow up and be on stage with Michael was amazing. And I got to we were doing The Way You Make Me Feel. It was like a reimagining of all of his songs, and he was on a bench with a street light, and it was like this
Yeah.
really sexy, like kind of Maxwell version of the
Yeah.
song. And we were playing cats. There were 4 girls, and I had to come through his legs, and I was like touching his ankles. Oh my God! Like, it was unbelievable.
And well, Michael's been obviously in the news a lot lately.
Yeah.
Do you have any feelings about what's going on right now with Wade Robinson and the
You
story
know,
with the
I've worked with
estate?
Wade. Yeah, Wade actually hired me for some of the Britney Pepsi ads.
Okay.
For
you know,
those who think young.
exactly. And you know, it's hard to think of someone like Michael Jackson potentially doing the things that he's being accused of.
Yeah.
But in knowing Wade, he's wildly successful. It's,
Yeah.
you know, and everyone's like, it's the money. Oh, it's money. And
Yeah.
I'm like, he's okay. He's okay. He's
Right.
doing all right. He's made his money. And I just don't see someone coming forth and saying things like that when there's no basis to it. Like
Right.
Yeah.
he just doesn't seem like that kind of guy. So I hope for both parties that it's not true, but it's a tough one. It's a really, really tough one.
And you did that project, and I mean, obviously, you were older when you moved to LA. What's dance like? Because I know a lot of my friends from back in New York. You know, what's the big dance school up there?
Juilliard?
Broadway dance.
Broadway Dance Center.
right.
Yeah,
Broadway Dance Center.
And just the life of a dancer in New York. I feel it's so different out here. What's your take on LA dance versus New York?
You know, I think I'll tell you this. My experience as a dancer in New York, there's such a grind in New York because, first of all, you have the elements to deal with. So I remember being like going to college and knowing that I would have like 2 or 3 hours free. I'd check in with my agent, I'd have an audition, you know, and then maybe I'd have a commercial audition and then a dance audition. All of that's on your back. Like all those changes are
Wow.
on your back, and it's 20 degrees and snowing. And you have 2 hours before the next thing, so you're
catch
homeless.
subway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there is no jumping in your car and heading home for a little bit. It's a grind. You know, you're calling up friends, trying to schedule things so that you're not, you know, sitting around or walking around for hours.
Right,
So
yeah.
there's a grind that happens there. Not saying that there's not the same enthusiasm or passion for what you do here, but to really want to put yourself through that as a dancer in New York, you have to really love it.
Yeah.
And you have to be really driven.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, as soon as I moved here and I was able to, you know, turn down videos or things that I really didn't want to do, I thought, like, this is amazing, you know, or like run home, jump in my car and run home, you know, for a few hours before the next audition.
New York kind of set you up to really take over LA.
Well, you know, I already had the drive, and then it became, when I got here, I was like, oh, this is easy.
Right. Right.
Had I known,
Right.
I would have been here
Right.
already, you know what I mean, in relation to what you had
Right.
to deal with in New York.
So you move here, you get a role on Any Day Now, a guest appearance,
Yes.
which was a very serious kind of subject matter. It was a
Yeah.
young college woman who had been assaulted. Were you nervous to, you know, that was your big
That was
kind
my
of first
first.
role.
That was my
And it's-
very first role.
Were you a little
yeah.
nervous about it?
I was, and you don't know what to expect, and no one kind of, you know, as an actor, no one goes, okay, you're gonna get there, you're gonna meet the first AD, and no one kind of walks you through it, so you learn as you're going, and they were so beautiful there, and Lorraine Toussaint, who was one of the leads,
Yeah.
was amazing, and I remember being in the makeup trailer, and we kind of resemble. We have she kind of reminds me of an aunt.
Yeah, I can see
and,
that. Yeah.
And so we were sitting there, and she went, "We look like family." And I was like, "I know." And she was just so lovely, and we were talking, and she was like, "I like you." She goes, "I'm going to talk to the writers and see if," because she had like chunks of dialogue, and she goes, "I'm going to talk to the writers." And I was like, "Well, okay." And you just kind of smile, and we go through the rehearsal, and she stopped the director and says, "You know, can we just have her say all this stuff?" And she talked to the writers, and sure enough, they rewrote it and gave me like the chunk of what she was doing, and
Oh,
it
wow.
was just such a
Nice.
beautiful, like, especially for
Wow.
an actor, you know,
Yeah.
on their own show.
No
Sometimes,
competition.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get sketchy, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are like, "Well, why is she wearing that?" or "What?" You
Mhm.
know. And for her to have this really nurturing, you know, approach and say, "Yeah, give it to her."
Did she
So-
give you
Awesome.
key advice during your taping?
Not so much. I wasn't at that time. I was just so like happy to be there. I really didn't say much,
Yeah.
you know. So I wasn't asking, but I learned so much in just watching, and the grace and elegance of somebody who could do that.
So you're dancing, you're starring on Any Day Now with a guest star, and then you get into a burlesque group,
Yes. I
which
did.
is now we all know is the famous Pussycat Dolls. Tell us how
Yes.
that started.
Well, you know what's so funny? I remember the days of having to beg people. I'd be like, "You guys, I'm doing the show at the Viper Room. It's really good. You should come." Like, I mean, literally begging people, like, and would never show up. Jimmy Iovine, I'd met Jimmy doing a show called Farm Club, and called Jimmy and said, "Jimmy, come see this show." And he's like, I'm gonna try. Like, you know, years later, he ends up signing the group.
Right.
Right.
But it was this really small little show, and I remember spending like all of Saturday going into the Viper Room, and like we'd literally make our stage and like hot gluing, rhinestones onto a bustier or to a garter or whatever the case may be. And it was this really sweet little show. And I remember when I first met the choreographer, she said, "Yeah, I've got this burlesque show." And I had never really heard, I've heard the term, but I never really knew what it meant. So I think as with a lot of people, I was just like, well, all right, wait, what does burlesque mean?
Right.
Are you naked?
Like clothing. Like
What
what's
are you
going
talking
on?
about? Because there's just I don't know, there's just that thought with that word, And she went, no, come to the rehearsal. And I mean, 20 minutes into that rehearsal, I was like, so I stand here? Is this my spot right here? I was immediately in. And it was amazing.
What was training like for that? I mean, obviously a new type of
A new style of dance.
experience
Yeah.
for you. What was that like?
It was,
And how has it changed you now?
It was always, I have to say, I just felt like, I think I immediately tapped into it because it just felt like something that was so natural to me. It, I've always just been a huge fan of sensual movement and modern. I loved modern dance because it felt so connected to who you were. And so stepping in, it was just a matter of adding heels and, a little glittery outfit. It was just something that immediately, I felt like it was speaking my language. So, it wasn't a huge jump, and the rehearsals were so much fun because it was, we were just so happy to be putting this show together that we loved, and we just wanted, so it's so great when you're putting something together that you're excited about, and you're like, oh, I can't wait till everybody sees it.
How many girls were a part of the group at that time?
On a whole, it was probably about 20 girls that would rotate in and out.
That's a lot of personalities.
That's a lot of personalities and dancers. God bless them. I'm a dancer myself, but a lot of personalities. But as the show started to become more and more popular, and we got Gwen Stefani when Gwen came in, and Christina Applegate had been a part of the show and kind of an MC for our show as well. And then I remember we got some funding for the Maxim, the big Maxim show that we were going to do, and we were over at the Roxy, and I remember we were rehearsing, and this woman came in, and she was like really tall and beautiful, and I just saw like her silhouette as she walked up, and I was like, "Is that Charlize Theron?" Okay. And she just sat there watching the show, and it was like, "I want to do this," and we were all like, here you go. And so when that kind of, like, people would just, women specifically, just like immediately connected with it and just thought like, yes, because it was like such a powerful thing. It was like, it was teasing, but it wasn't stripping. It was
very sensual.
Sensual and woman, hear me roar. It was unbelievable. And so as the show started to grow, we just found ourselves like, oh my God, this is getting bigger and bigger. And then Robin, who was the creator, decided that she kind of needed to put 6 girls, the face, because we had like about 20 girls coming in and out, depending on, somebody got a show or somebody got a movie, and so she named 6 girls the originals. So technically some of those girls are the originals, but I was definitely not an original, even though I was named one of the originals, but I was the black original.
The black original.
What was one of your favorite songs to perform with the group?
A Big Spender is just a kind of classic, and it's, as soon as it starts, the music starts, you're just like, oh, you can kind of feel.
And then, well, even with working with Robin, like, I always want to know, how did she determine who was going to be in the singing group versus be just the dancer?
Well, it kind of started to morph after the big Roxy show. We had a summer at the Roxy, and then we got the Maxim cover, and then the Maxim show. And at that point, that's when Interscope kind of stepped in and said, yeah, we want to do this as a pop group.
Yeah.
And I sing all the time, guys, in my car and in my shower, and it's unbelievable. Am I a vocalist?
You want to give us a little sample of what you sound like in the shower?
Let me just
right
finish
now?
my story. Am I a vocalist? I wouldn't call myself a vocalist, but I'm an amazing singer. And so, basically we had to kind of go through an audition period, and they were like, oh yeah, we can work with you guys, we'll fix it up. And then some things started to shift in the group, and we could kind of feel, the 6 of us, the originals, really started feeling the tides turning, and it came down to a point of like, all right, we're going to have to either stand strong for our stake in what we've helped to create, or move on.
Yeah.
And for some of us, including myself, it was like, okay, I think I'm going to move on because I could just feel the tides turning. So it was time to leave.
As far as Robin, I mean, what did she teach you as far as being, kind of the ringleader of the group?
You know, Robin always had a really great eye for things. She was able to immediately. She's got an incredible sense of style, so she was immediately able to kind of like put something together and go. And you'd go, yeah, oh wow, yeah, that's. She'd be like, yeah, add that like striped corset with your hot pink and turquoise top, and and it would all work. And so she kind of really helped me have a keener eye in terms of wardrobe, and whether it's for stage or for television. That's something I've kind of, I guess, kept with me along the way.
Very nice.
And with her being the leader, I mean, there's so many girls that were in the groups, like with royalties and things like that. Is it all Robin?
Well,
Or
that's where we had to decide. It
Yeah.
was like the line in the sand. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, so there's a lot of money rolling
a
around.
lot of money. Yeah.
And I had
And
this
I'm
question.
kind of broke.
Nadine, this
yes.
is Phil from the booth.
Hey, Phil.
Daryl was trying to ask my question, but my question is this:
Uh-huh.
I've gotten a chance to meet Robin Anton, and my experience is this:
Okay.
we were doing Dancing with the Stars at the time, and she was hosting it for our sister network AfterBuzz TV, and all the Dancing with the Stars dancers went up to Robin like she was royalty. They were so in awe of her. And so that was the question. What was, I'm so, to work with someone like that,
Right.
I mean, I just wanted to really get that experience and what that really meant for you.
Right.
Daryl misinterpreted the question.
I see. I understand.
Sorry.
Gotcha. No. It's all good. But it was a
was
relevant
It was
question.
a good question.
It was a
though.
relevant
I actually
question.
did want to know.
Yes,
so.
yes. It's interesting. Robin is. She and I have fallen out since the dolls because exactly. I mean, like
give us the
without
tea.
getting into the details of it all, it was
But if you
really.
want to share, it's fine.
Right, thanks. It really just became a point where we were this group of, she was definitely the original and had helped create the show with her brother, and these other women were involved, and there were, I will not name names, but there were probably about 3 other girls that really started this group with her, and as it progressed, we all helped put our stamp on what that show eventually became.
Right.
And I'd been a part of that show for 5 years getting paid nothing. It was just a labor of love, getting paid nothing, going out and buying my costumes, and as I said, going on a Saturday and like staple gunning the stage together, and all of a sudden there was this influx of money, and it was kind of like, yeah, isn't it great, guys? And it was just like,
I'm still
Like,
stapling this.
listen,
the stage.
yeah, my
it-
glue gun just broke. Like,
right,
what's going on? Yeah.
and there was just no I will just say that there was just no room for compensation, and it was just kind of like we were all supposed to accept it and be like, oh yeah, this is great.
Well, and then
fantastic,"
moving
you
from
know?
that, you started your own group with Carmen Electra.
I did, yes.
The
yes.
Bombshell Babies.
Yes. So 3 of the dolls that 3 of us that left. We still loved it. We loved the kind of movement and music and feeling that was happening in the show. So we decided to kind of move on, and Carmen was down to do it. And Carmen had kind of had a little bit of falling out with Robin as well, and so we kind of moved forward and created this other show, and it was so much fun. And
What would you say the difference for you personally with the 2 groups?
it was when you're producing something yourself and you're able to
Yeah.
put your own stamp on it. It's always, I feel, better.
Yeah. It's like you can watch it, nurture, and grow
Exactly,
it. Yeah.
exactly. And you're able to put the energy. I mean, it was a lot of work, a lot more work. I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into putting up, like, even just a 20-minute set. It's from costumes to music to lighting to all that stuff. So, but it was so great, and we were so proud of what we put out.
So what do you feel like was the stamp that you wanted to say with that new show? Like what you want people to sort of have been left with after you were done with it?
I don't think it was vastly different than the dolls. It was as much as it was just here are 4 elegant women on stage, of course with Carmen, and we just wanted to kind of create this power stance for women. It was about being absolutely in control and feeling gorgeous in your movement, and we also, in moving on with the dolls, we kind of were able to allow our other influences. So there was, so we would do kind of like catchy songs and do like Ludacris had a great like new version of some of the songs that we used. So we would kind of like influx a little hip hop in it, just because why not? Like there's room for, especially in the way that dance and music has gone, there's room for everyone to kind of come out and play. And so it was just a nice way to kind of put our own little spin on it.
What dancers inspired you?
Debbie.
Debbie.
Definitely. Citrice, Gregory Hines. I mean, like, there's there's so many that, like, you can, like, I can see the pictures of them as they, like, pop into my head. And, you know, I think that there's just a world of talent out there. And when you're able to see it and then kind of go, I want to do that, and then able to step in and put your own stamp on it, it's always amazing.
And you used all your dance skills when you were in 2000, The Clumps, with the Nutty Professor of the Clumps.
Yes.
Now, Janet Jackson also starred in that movie.
Yes, she did.
And did you have any interaction with her? She's a different type of dancer, but
Right.
with you being a dancer, was there any interaction between you two as far as, like, behind the scenes and talking about dance moves?
I wish. I mean, because Janet was really the tour that I wanted. I was like,
Yeah, that was, everyone is.
I just wanted that If tour so bad, you know. I just wanted that If tour, and so we got to talk a little bit. But you know, she's very shy and very kind of quiet, and ironically, so were Eddie. So like they were the two quiet ones, kind of in their own little corners, and everybody else was like, "Wah, nah, nah, nah," you know. But it was a great experience, and I mean, just the fact that I got a chance to meet her and talk to her was really cool.
Right.
You know?
Cool.
So set was just kind of chill.
Yeah, it was very chill, and they were both very quiet. I remember kind of thinking like, wow, like, you know, and then I thought like, oh, maybe this is what they do just so that they're just like ready when they get on camera, you know. But you know, you do what you do to make it all come out the way you want it to on camera. So.
And then you were also in Idlewood. You were in Charlie's Angels. You worked on some really big films, Iron Man 2.
Yes.
In those films, you also played dancer roles, I
Yes,
believe.
yes.
Now, at any point did you feel like maybe, okay, I'm going to get typecast as just the dancer in these big movies, or you figured that one day you would grow out of that?
I never even had that allow that way of thinking in, because I had a lot of people tell me like, don't tell them, like, when you go into these auditions as an actor, don't tell them you're a dancer, and they won't take you seriously, is what everyone, you know, kind of would say to me. And I thought, oh, okay, and then sure enough you go in, and sometimes the casting directors of course are going to go, so tell me about you, and I'm like, I'm a dancer, like, because that's just I mean, it's just who I was. So who was I going to be, like, if I wasn't, I mean, I wasn't a waitress, I wasn't, you know, a secretary, like, that's what I did. And sometimes, you know, you're working, if I'm working with Ricky Martin for the Grammys, and I'm telling this casting director, and she's like, oh my God, like, now they're more interested in you.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, be yourself. Like, people are going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. You've got to do what's right for you.
You had talked before about the grind being a dancer. When you came, obviously, I mean, you went from Any Day Now, and you getting big movies. Like, what was the grind compared to as an actor versus a dancer in LA for you?
Well, it's so different. It's so different because as a dancer, so much of the reason why you get hired is, as well as your look. Obviously, it's, you know, we're on camera. It's your work ethic. You know, choreographers want to know that you're going to come in on time. You're going to hit it when the director is in the room. You're going to hit it. You're going to hit it hard, and that you're going to be someone that's easy to work with. You know, and as an actor, all of that is they're not able to see that until you're on set. You know, like, it happens in the casting room.
Yeah.
You know, that is really what's going to determine whether you're going to work. And of course, as your body of work grows, you will, you know, people will know what your reputation is. But it's a little different as a dancer. It's like they almost want to know about that before
Right.
you're hired.
Yeah.
So it's a little different in that way.
And we went from Janet Jackson, but then you worked in Geely with Jennifer Lopez.
Yes.
What was it? I mean, you
Jenny from the block.
both from New York.
Both from New York. Yeah.
Where did you guys get to, you know, did she have any advice, or did you guys have any, like, fun hangout times?
We really didn't have that much. She was very limited in terms of her time on set. I do remember I have this one image of her. We were on the beach, and she was coming down, and Miss Thing was in her pumps, honey, her outfit and her pumps, hair blowing in the wind. She was fabulous. Everybody was like, Jennifer's coming on set. And so we saw her walking, and then, you know, she just kind of went, and hailed over like this massive bodyguard, and he picked her right on up. And she got carried down to the beach and landed. It was like, hi, everybody. And we were all like, hey, girl. You know, so she was just very fabulous, you know. But I didn't really have much of a connection with her. I didn't have an opportunity to talk to her. They, you know, in a lot of those situations, they know. They, you know, the handlers, the directors, they really kind of want to keep
it separate.
Keep them separate,
Yeah.
you know.
What was your favorite set to be on, as far up until that point?
Wow, that's a good one. You know, I have a few that pop into my mind. Charlie's Angels was a lot of fun. I remember the day we were shooting our scene was was Halloween, so it was just like this crazy cacophony of all these different people and characters, and then us, you know. And Cameron Diaz was really cool. Like we
Yeah.
just had a few people that were just like really cool, and Drew Barrymore was like, "You guys, is this right?" Like, you know, she was very like, "Is this right?" You know, we're like, "You're fine. You're Drew
You're good.
Barrymore. I think you're
Right.
gonna be okay."
You're right.
You know.
You're gonna make it.
You're gonna make it. I think you're good. Something tells me, you know. So that was a fun one. I'm trying to think. Of course, the Clumps was great because it was Eddie, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, in the acting world, in terms of my comedic heroes, I mean, come on, you
Yeah,
know,
Eddie
it's
Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. Come on.
Is he your
kids.
biggest inspiration on the comedic side?
I don't know if he's my biggest. I think I admire a lot of what he does.
Yeah.
You know, I think of our generation, he's just like,
Yeah.
come on, he
Yeah.
shut it down. It is just, he is the template of just what is funny, like
Yeah.
hands down. You
Set
know?
the tone. He definitely set
He
the
really
tone.
did. He really, really did.
And you've worked on, as we were mentioning, a lot of movies, and then you have worked on television.
Mm-hmm.
ER, Everybody Loves Chris, Flash Forward.
Flash
as we
forward,
mentioned,
my
Touch.
That we
my
talked about.
on-screen death.
Your
My
on-screen
first
death?
on-screen
Was he-
death. Yes, I hit my head and died.
Died.
in that 30 seconds when the planet went down, I died.
You got
Fabulously.
Hair in the Wind.
It was a slow mo, great, like it was like gong. Drop, she's dead.
You channeled J-Lo for that.
Yes,
one.
honey. I was like, and down. It was fierce.
Well, since you started and have done a lot of these guest appearances and have built your resume, do you feel like there are a lot more roles for African American actresses now than what they were when you first started?
I think so. I think that Shonda Rhimes really kind of set the tone
Yeah, for sure.
in terms of not setting a race or a type on anything. She kind of
Yeah.
just writes and says this is what it is, and whoever walks in and is this person, that's who it is. And so definitely since Grey's Anatomy, when I would go in for auditions, you know, you would just kind of see open ethnicity. That was
Yeah.
just like, you know, it was like, yes. Everybody gets
Everybody
an
gets
opportunity.
a chance.
You know,
A chance.
you know. So I definitely think it is open, wide open. You know, and of course BET kind of stepping up to the plate and saying, yeah, let's put some programming together. Has
First scripted series,
first
right?
scripted series.
scripted
Let's stay
series.
together. You know, and so for them to kind of pick up the torch and say, let's do this has been huge for me in particular. You know.
Now, on the other side of that, with the craze of reality TV, how do you feel that that has helped or damaged the perception of black women and men on television as you drink your water?
Sips cup.
Sit very slowly, Nadine. I got time to wait for this answer right here.
What was that next question?
Yeah, what
What
was
was
that? Let me see what's my
again?
next question.
Here.
We won't say any specific shows, Basketball
course
Wives
not.
or Real Housewives
What
of Atlanta.
now?
Oh, what'd you say? Who? Oh, I'm
What,
sorry.
my headphone just went out.
Oh, yeah, that's sorry.
Okay. You know, I think
Politically correct.
I think that there are a lot of personalities from those shows who have had an opportunity to use those shows as a jumping off point
Yes.
and have gone on and been very successful, which is amazing. And you're like, amen, hallelujah. You know, even one of them being casted for an actual scripted sitcom, you know,
Yeah.
with the new normal.
Yes.
Has it benefited us specifically in the Black community? I think that that is yet to be seen. I think we'll.
What is
it'll
the
be
human
interesting.
race?
As a human race, as a no.
Yeah, very good point.
Well,
you
no,
know?
we had a topic we talked about last week on our Hot Topics with editing for reality shows.
Right.
And Star Jones had recently done a panel where she was asking certain executives and you know successful black people if they felt that it was the person in the show that was acting crazy or if they were just edited to look like they were acting crazy.
Yeah.
What's your viewpoint on that?
I definitely think it's so much of it. You can see sometimes it's like a question is asked on you know, I'm talking, but we're the camera's being held on you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as an actor, you know, sometimes like something technically is off, so
Yeah.
they have to hold this shot of you a little longer because we've got to mask this because we can't use that shot.
Right.
So I think so much of the editing can really heighten a situation and
Yeah.
make it seem a lot worse than it actually is. And the truth of the matter is that people are tuning in to see people are tuning into those shows so they can say, "Did you see what happened?" Or,
Yeah, you're right.
and if
Train
there
wrecks.
is not a "Did you see what happened" moment, then that show is not going to do well.
Right.
Right.
You know, and so it's a little bit of the beast feeding the monster that is
monster,
us,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, and right back around. It kind
Yeah.
of like is this cyclical thing.
And we were saying we all have ADD now, so our attention span is like, you got to get
In
it
a
to us
mo-
quick.
You better have.
Better
But
get
did
us
you
quick.
see that?
Right.
You
Yeah.
better be there, or you are off the air. You know.
Now, are you very picky in the roles that you choose for yourself?
I am too. You know, so far I've a lot of the stuff that I've been offered has been pretty solid. There's been some stuff that I've turned down.
Like,
And,
can you share something that
well,
you
you
would
know,
not do?
There was a film that I won't mention the name, but there was a film that, you know, it was just the way the character was left off. It was a woman who was kind of in distress, and she was the forever victim, and at the end she was still the forever victim. And you know, as an actor, it's like you've got to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah,
And if there's
definitely.
not some kind of growth, then what are we doing? You know, and they kind of wanted her to like go out as like, I'm dying, I'm a victim, and I thought I can't, you know, and it was
Yeah.
very flattering because they kind of came after me, you know, and I got several phone calls, and they kind of kept throwing some more money on top, and you know,
Right.
and I thought, I can't do it. I can't do it and have my mother watch it and go, what was that? And, you know, so I stepped away.
Is there an ideal role that you would want to play that you haven't already?
Wow. There's not necessarily like, you know, I will say this, in terms of genre, I love action.
Yeah.
And I would love
I could
to.
see you in a nice action film.
Bond
From
girl.
your
I,
lips.
like I said,
From your
I saw
lips,
you in that
boo.
commercial. We're going to talk about that later. You got some action in you. I saw it.
Yeah, and you know, just using my body for so long as a dancer, as my
Yeah.
tool, I would love to be able to kind of combine.
Would you want to
acting
do
and
your own stunts?
to a certain extent, yeah, I would love to, because I love being physical and I love movement, so it's something that I would want to do. Now, if they say, listen, you know, backflip over this car, maybe not so much.
Why'd you pull her in?
I have no problem with
Body
making sure
double.
stunt people get hired.
Right.
Yes. They actually brought in a stunt for a flash forward for my death scene.
No, they did
and I was
not.
like, I can do it, guys. They were like, sit down. It's like,
They're like, liability,
yeah,
liability.
it's totally an
liability.
insurance thing, yeah. But it was great because I'm so happy that, you know, I had this whole conversation with the stunt girl that came in, and, you know, and she was like, yeah, girl, sit down.
Girl,
I
you
need
giving
get
jobs to
right."
people.
Exactly.
Right, you getting Hollywood hired.
Hey.
What about on the other side of the camera, producing or directing? Is that somewhere you see yourself going soon?
Directing, not so much, but producing, I would love to get involved. I mean, as you know, as I was telling you with the Bombshell Babies, when you are able to see your brainchild kind of grow and become this thing, and especially if you can, you know, put some money in somebody else's pocket, it's a beautiful thing. So I would love to just to help project the images of people like me to the world the way those before me kind of did it for me.
Yeah, paving the way.
Do you see
Paving
yourself
the way.
ever doing a show like your Bombshell Babies ever again?
Doing it again? I
Or
wouldn't
looking-
rule it out. I definitely wouldn't rule it out.
Maybe being a mother to girls.
Right, yeah, I would definitely, I could say for sure, that I would love to be a part of.
Because it's amazing that type of dance is so. It's not bigger than what it is.
yeah, it did have, like, you know, with our show, like, it kind of had a little resurgence. All of a sudden, there were all these burlesque groups that kind of popped up, and there's a show that's happening in Santa Monica called Harlow Gold that still it kind of does it, and they're really kind of the only ones. Tracy Phillips is the choreographer.
Okay,
She's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And when I go see those shows, I'm like, I get the
You get
bug.
the
I'm like, somebody get me some sparkly heels. Like, I gotta do it, you know, and a boa immediately. You know,
I love
so.
it in a boa.
So yeah, I would love to definitely kind of nurture the next generation of that.
And then as you came to find your family at BET, you know, what was the audition like for Let's Stay Together?
Oh, wow. It was so, you know what? This is crazy. And it's just my truth. As I was saying with, you know, when people say, don't tell people that you're a dancer, this was just my truth. When I came into audition, Robbie Reed was the casting director at the time. And I'd gone in and auditioned for Robbie probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years prior to that,
Okay.
and bombed so horribly, you guys. Like, to this day, still my worst audition to date.
What was the project?
I don't even,
You don't
like,
remember.
I
You were like,
blocked it out.
okay,
Like,
I got
I'm
you.
sure, because,
Yeah.
like, it was so traumatic. And I just remember thinking, like, oh, that was really bad. And she just hadn't brought me back in. So when I got the call from my agent, Robbie Reed's bringing you back in for this project for BET, I thought, what? So I was like, I was ready. I was like killing this audition. And it was really, my goal was, and actors are taught this all the time. Your goal is to win the casting director.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
even if you don't get the job, the
They'll
casting
remember you.
director may remember you for
Yeah.
another project. So that was my goal walking in. And especially as I walked in and I saw, all these faces, these women who had been series regulars on other shows that I watched and been fans of. And I thought, like, I walked in the room and I thought, I'm not getting this job. Okay, and
Right.
it was really odd, but it completely freed me up.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about I got to get the job. I just went in and played, and it was just it was so much fun. It was one of my favorite auditions because that's what I did. I just went in and played, and they were great in the room, and Burt Belasco, who I had auditioned with, who ended up, who is now my husband on the show, was just another, like, we just immediately, like, even in the waiting room, we were like we were just like kids. I just remember he's like, yeah, this is crazy, right? And I was like, yeah, whatever, and so, to walk into the room and just be able to play, it was so amazing.
Yeah, I've had several friends who are actors who say that the jobs that they got were the jobs when they actually went in there and didn't give a crap about the audition.
Yeah,
And they ended up booking it.
Yeah.
You know?
Because when you start, what happens is that it's very insidious. It's like you start to think like, this can change my life.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this will change my life. Oh, now I've got to, and then all of a sudden you work yourself into a frenzy that doesn't even really exist. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you just go in and play, it's usually when the magic
When it
happens.
happens. And how similar are you to your characters?
We have a lot of, we share the same body. We look a lot alike.
You do look a lot alike.
Almost identical voice. We are, she is very driven as I am. I mean, she's definitely more of an intellectual than I am. Not to say that I'm not a smart girl, because I believe I am. But, she is definitely kind of like the girl that was attacking the book. So not me, not so much,
Yeah.
And she's got like different kinds of neuroses than I do, because she is such a overachiever, like needing to make it right and make it, make sure that everybody's taken care of, where I'm not so much that person. I'm like, you'll be fine. I believe in you. I think you'll be just fine, So we have some similarities, but on a whole, it's I think we're probably further apart than we are closer together.
And do you remember what you were doing when you actually were cast for the role?
I was at home. And I remember getting the call, and my agent said, hey, and he was, the first thing he said, first of all, I just have to commend you, because I thought that for sure I'd be getting a call from you every day. Like, did I get the job? Did I get the job? But honestly, I literally, you guys, walked in there just to, I was like, Robbie, I'm making a fan out of you. And that was my intention. So I didn't, when I walked out, I was like, okay, even when we, obviously made it down to the screen test, I went in and I just kind of went, okay, well, there it is. And I let it go. I was very proud of myself for that. And so he called and he goes, I was really impressed that you didn't call me back within the week. And he goes, yeah, so anyway, hold on a second. And he has this little, what is the character on The Simpsons? Not Smithers, but the boss.
Mr. Crothers?
No,
Mr.
No, it's close to that, but it's not. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
the old skeleton-y guy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And he's
Smithers
is the assistant.
Yeah.
But he's got the little old guy, and he's like on a desk with money. And when you press the back, it plays money, 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 money.
And that's what you heard.
And that's what I heard. And I was like, what? And he was like, you're Stacy. And I was just like, what? And then I kind of fell apart
Oh, man.
at that point. But it was very cool.
What's it like on set? Because you guys film in Atlanta.
Yeah, we do.
What's that like?
It's so cool because, I think the fact that we are, initially when I heard we were shooting in Atlanta, I thought, oh God, I gotta you're gonna
Atlanta.
It's hot Atlanta, which I don't mind because I'm an island girl, so I love the heat. I do love it when it's hot there, but I just thought I'm gonna have to uproot my life, and I'm gonna be away from family, friends, all that stuff. Well, friends, I've got one aunt here in California, but and I just thought, But now I actually really appreciate it because you go there and you're there to work. You know what I mean? You get kind of put into the bubble, the family bubble, and we're there to kind of make this thing happen. And so it's so relaxing, and we're so fortunate, I think, to have the cast that we do because everybody's so cool.
Yeah, you guys seem really close.
So
I heard you guys do
cool.
dinner parties and
Yeah.
girl talk.
Right. You know, it's very cool, and we have no crazies on our set. Like, you know, it's just a very relaxed atmosphere, and then you definitely do feel like you can go to, you know, I'll go to somebody and go, this is not working. What do you think? And you know, we can kind of bounce things back and forth off of each other, and that's always really nice as an actor to kind of be in that setting because it could be the exact.
Do they give you any creative direction? Like if you said, you know, you've become this character to
Right.
be able to walk up to them and say, you know, I feel like she wouldn't do this.
They are. Like, we're really fortunate as well with our writers that they're open, you know, and we'll kind of talk at, you know, it's become this thing now that at the end of each run through, we kind of will kind of do a little back and forth and kind of go, this feels a little like, I don't know if she would necessarily do that. And there's always dialogue. They're
Yeah.
at least open to kind of saying, you know, it's not like shut up and do your job.
Just do your job. Be quiet. Just be the actor. That's it.
Right. Yeah. So that's nice.
And you guys seem really close, as you were mentioning, and Jesse was mentioning. Who are you closest to on the set?
I think Bert, because we're always together.
Yeah.
You know, we're always in that damn bed together.
You are in the bed a lot
We
of the
are
show.
in that bed. You know, I mean, it's definitely changing now because we've been married a minute now.
Right.
So now it's like, yeah, beat it. You know?
Now, Bert being Charles on the show, is he somebody in real life, like his personality on the show is somebody you would date? Like, is that your type of man, you think?
Is Charles? the
Yeah,
person?
like Charles. It's I'm
She's like,
Charles.
absolutely not.
Never.
She's like, no.
I mean, you know, he's endearing. He's
Love
such an
him.
endearing.
She's like,
him to
great and
death.
all,
He's
but
great. But you know, he's just. I think that I don't know any women. You know, I guess there are. I mean, that's not necessarily true. I do know a few women, but I am not the kind of girl that's looking to be the mother figure in my
Right,
man's
right.
life. And you know, and of course, you know, it's a comedy, so everything is kind of heightened. You know,
Right.
and Bert is not. Oh, he's not completely Charles. I mean, Bert definitely has those elements as well.
all right, Bert, we're gonna get you on the show so
Right.
you can defend yourself because Nadine
You know
just
what?
said.
But
No,
he
I'm
will
just-
totally admit it. He will, because he's a big kid, you know, and he's so much fun to be around. Like, he keeps the energy on that set
You can see it. I can
alive
see that. Yeah.
at all times. He really does. He
Yeah.
is like our saving grace because he's just always like, like bouncing off a wall somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of the man in my life, I don't necessarily want to cut your meat for you. You know?
And what is your type of
But,
man?
Give us
Well,
some characteristics.
I really love a man who's employed.
Wait.
Amen.
There it is. This song has a theme in my life, right?
It does. It keeps appearing, right? It
Just
keeps appearing. You can't get rid of
Something
it.
Exactly.
happening.
There you
Hello. So yeah, I would say someone who's employed, and you know, I really would like a career-oriented person.
Okay, because I was gonna say employed is a very
Yes.
general.
Right. Yes.
Big
I'm
term.
working.
Target.
See?
Right.
Hello. Nothing wrong with Target.
Nothing wrong with Target.
I go there
Love
all the time.
Target.
Yes, for sure. They will get me all the time. But yeah,
Career-driven.
career-driven, spiritual. I mean, I don't think it's vastly different than any other woman. You want somebody
Yeah.
who's kind of ambitious, driven, you know, spiritual, connected, monogamous would be nice. That'd be nice.
Monogamous is
Yeah.
You
helpful.
know, it definitely helps, especially in a town like Los Angeles where, you know, every girl is prettier than the next. So
Yeah.
you want somebody who you have a real connection with. And
Kind of like a. Oh, go ahead.
Like an Idris Elba?
what?
You know.
What?
Where?
I know you just did a new commercial
Yes, I
with him.
did.
I mean,
I
what
did.
was that audition like? How did it all come into
Okay,
play?
so I walk in and I pick up the sides, you know, and it's like 3 pages of sides, and I'm like, oh wow, this is a pretty elaborate commercial.
Yeah.
Normally, you walk in, you're like, I love that, and you're done,
And
you
you're
know,
like,
right?
right.
And this was like it kept going, and I was like, wow, this is pretty. Wow, this is. And then I see along, you know, like along the sidelines, it says Idris, and I was like, so I go over to the woman at the sign in, and I go, hi. Is this Idris? She was like, yeah, girl. I was like, okay.
Oh wow.
I said, excuse me, let me
It's
go
like you
learn my
get the-
lines. Let me go learn these
He gets
lines.
the same reaction from women all over the world. That's
He
funny. I
really
love
just
it.
does.
That
I
guy is
mean,
smooth.
I know, yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, I really feel like they could have hired a much better looking man with,
Yeah.
you know, who was like sexy. That's
Right,
probably
yeah.
what
That
they
would've
should
been
have gone
Yeah.
with, but
Yeah.
they went with him. So yeah, but
Well-
it was great. It was great, and the audition was great. And our director, I knew this was not your regular. It wasn't your run of the mill commercial because our director was so hardcore. Like
What do you mean by?
he like I was in the room for a minute. Like I felt like I was in the room for about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and he was like, yeah, and he had us read, for those of you who haven't seen the commercial, the first part of the commercial, we see a stately gentleman outside of a theater, and he's talking into clearly like a radio mic, and he's like, where are you? You know, and we see Idris across the street, and he says, oh, I'm in the Black Avalon across the street. The man looks around. He's like, I see no Avalon. Idris whips around. The older man jumps in, and we see a mask come off, and it's me. and I just remember there was a little bit of dialogue that they ended up cutting, but he had us do the stately gentleman's dialogue just so that he could get a sense of where we were as an actor. You know,
Yeah.
because he was clearly wanting to work with an actor.
Yeah.
And so it was just great. It was a great process because he was kind of hard nosed, you know, and well, you should do this, and I was like, no, well, actually, I think it should be like, you know, and he was like,
Oh, really?
He's like, oh, a little sass.
He was like, all right. He's like, all right, well then do that. I'm like, all right then. You know?
And book me now.
Right, exactly. And he ended up doing
And he
it.
ended up
I
doing
love
it.
a man who listens.
Yeah.
That's part
That's
of the trait.
another
That's another
quality.
trait. We're writing them down so we
Yes.
can,
Love a man who
email these out.
listens.
Please
Okay,
do.
got it.
Please do.
Now the commercial is very sexy. It reminds me kind of like a Mission Impossible meets James Bond, very sleek and smooth.
Yes.
Different for Toyota as well, like for
Yes,
Avalon.
very
So.
Definitely, definitely. And that was the whole idea, because the idea is that this Avalon is so vastly different. You know, the bad guys are after us, and they keep missing us because they just don't. They assume that that's not an Avalon because
Right.
it's so sleek and
Right.
redesigned and gorgeous. So yeah, I think that was and of course, and then there's been so much buzz about Idris potentially taking over the franchise,
Franchise.
the James Bond,
Which I think would
franchise.
be absolutely genius.
I absolutely
Genius.
agree.
I love
think
Daniel
so.
Craig, but
Yes.
I
I love Daniel Craig
Craig
because
did
I
great.
heard that he was the one who kind of endorsed it.
So
Yeah.
endorsed
He was the
Idris.
one
Yeah,
who
he
said,
did.
"Yeah, I think this is the guy." You know, if you're looking for somebody, new, and so I think Toyota kind of capitalized on the
You-
Bond.
a
So
change
you're
is
like,
coming.
You'll be our Bond girl?
Just
Are you our
saying,
Bond girl?
guys. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I would love to be considered for the franchise, but it's not a big deal. I mean,
However,
whatever.
We'll start a
Whatever
Twitter
happens.
campaign.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we,
Yes.
guys?
We're gonna do that.
Hashtag.
Hashtag Nadine
Bond girl.
Now you obviously have a busy schedule. You're
Yes.
doing your show. You're doing commercials. What's next for you? What will your fans be seeing you?
I have a film that's being entered into a few festivals right now called Four of Hearts, and it's myself and Darren Henson, formerly of Soul Food,
Soul Food, yeah.
on Showtime. And
Dance, dance.
And also a dancer.
and
I was
also
gonna
a
say.
dancer.
Also a
I've
dancer.
known Darren for longer than I would want to ever admit, from New York. We're both from New York. I mean, we used to dance together.
Really?
Like, we got hired for a few jobs together. So I've known him for a very long time. So it was crazy that I walk in, I see his name because he was one of the executive producers, and I walk in, I'm like, whatever. I was like, whatever, Mr. Executive Producer, And I think it was really because I actually auditioned for the part, and
Okay.
and I think of course, when you have a relationship with an actor, it always makes it easier,
Yeah.
And I believe I was one of the only girls to kiss him, and so the director was like, what is happening? She just kissed him, and so we play a married couple who, like many couples, after a few years, kind of the romance, the sizzle falls out because life kind of steps in.
Yeah.
And I decide to go an unconventional way to bring the spice back. Yes. So I'll leave you with that.
Well, maybe we can incorporate your dance
Unconventional.
group back
Right.
into this and start spicing up a lot of people's relationships.
Well, it's funny you would say that because a really good friend of mine in the film, it has an open marriage, and so I am not a proponent of open marriages, but I'm like, well, maybe we can incorporate some people, and that's where I'll leave it. So.
Okay. Well, we know what we might be looking out for pretty soon.
Well,
Four of Hearts.
Speaking of ladies of the night, let's talk about you're part of a program called Children of the Night.
Yes, yes.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a great organization that I found out about and they basically take in children who have been a part of sex slavery or prostitution, and they bring in a lot of those kids are foster kids, unfortunately, and don't have family or friends, and so they take them in and they basically help them, with therapy, with getting their GED. The one downside, if there is any, to the program is that they age out at 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but it really just helps so many of those girls. Like, I don't even know where they would go. Like, who is there to help you? And it's such a great organization. And then they have like a little sisterhood, because they don't really. When you're raised in that kind of environment, who do you trust?
Yeah.
And when you know that somebody else has gone through what you've gone through, it just allows you to open up to them. And so I go and I teach dance class to them, and they love it. Like, they love it, and I love seeing that look in their face when the frustration of like, wait, no, do it again, like they get mad, like, do it again. I'm like, all right, don't. You were not the boss of me. Let's do this, And so we'll kind of go through the movement. I'll see them getting frustrated, and then like when it just clicks, like that's unbelievable to see, somebody who comes from a place that's not great and having just a little bit of light in their eyes.
What does that give you? I mean, a lot of celebrities, when they give back, it's either financially or they'll try to go as much as possible. But to be able to go and give a talent of yours and to be able to share that with the girls, what does that really put? Is that something that you wish to continue to do?
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Because I know what it felt like for me as where we started. The beginning of this interview is like, when you know that you're not really good at something, it just there's something's missing. You don't know, you're not even fully aware. You can't even necessarily have the question to ask yourself. You just know something's wrong. And even with some of these girls, are clearly not going to be dancers, but when they in our world of videos and YouTube and being able to like see Beyonce and having just a little taste of that for yourself is huge.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
huge especially for a woman's self-esteem. It's huge to be able to feel like a task has been given and you were able to conquer it, or you were able to embrace it and make it your own.
Yeah.
And so I love it. I really do.
And your program's so relevant right now. I mean, with the news story, I'm sure you heard about the one in Ohio with the 3 women who were kidnapped and luckily have just been found. But it sounds like this is something that could help benefit them as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So congratulations for this program.
Thank you.
Now, as you are working in this industry, what would you say is a word that really defines who you are?
Grateful. I am very grateful because I've had such an incredibly blessed life, from going from dance that has really kind of just allowed the rest of my dreams that I didn't even know I had to like kind of come true.
Yeah.
From dance to hosting a show and then to choreography and then of course to acting. It's like, I just know that my life could have been a completely different world, and I'm so grateful to be on this ride and to have the angels on my shoulders who've been there to kind of go, there you go, so I'm grateful for sure.
Well, now I have to add, I can't say double threat, I have to add triple threat.
Right.
Because you are a host, you are an actress, you also are a dancer, and I'm going to throw in singer in there.
Let's just go ahead and do it.
We'll intertwine singer
Let's
with
do
host.
it.
We're
Come on,
going to
guys.
throw it in there too.
Let's just make it happen.
Now we have a new section here that now we've gotten to know you a little bit.
Okay.
We call it our fun gameplay kind of section.
Okay.
So I start off by asking you 5 questions, and then Jesse and Courtney are going to ask you a couple other different questions.
Now, do these answers have to be the truth?
Yes, we like the truth. We like the truth.
Just wanna make sure. I just want
Typically,
to know the rules of the game.
Typically-
That's all.
Or
Typically-
really entertaining.
or
Okay.
entertaining. Yes, one of the two.
Okay,
One of
got
the
it.
two.
Gotcha.
So I'll start with the 5 questions. If you could interview any famous person, dead or alive, who would it be, and why?
2.
Okay.
I'll let you
Barack
have that.
and Michelle.
Okay.
Because I just want to know. First of all, I just want to know the first night. I want to know the first night they spent in the White House.
Oh
I
my
want to know.
God.
Okay,
what
I didn't know where this question was going.
Oh,
I was like, I want to know too. I want to know too. I want to know too.
Low key, I feel like those two kind of fall into
Oh, yes, yeah.
my mind wasn't there, but all right.
Listen, openly admit it. I will. Yes, sorry, I had a different question in mind. But I
Well,
like your
let's just say
question too.
what the conversation was that night, because you have to be like, we are in the White House.
Right.
There
Yeah,
just
that's
has to
true.
be that moment of like, are you serious?
Are you serious right now?
You know?
Yeah.
And I would just want to know all the stuff. I would just want to know like that whole experience, just the climb there and to be there is.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
incredible.
I can't even imagine
That's
that.
incredible.
Yeah. Now, second question: what's your favorite movie of all time and why?
Wow, that's such an unfair
Yeah.
question. Come on.
Because I have mine, Purple Rain.
Okay.
Purple Rain
He's
is
like,
my
mine-
favorite movie.
okay.
I'll start the lines right
Everybody
now, but
has
no.
one.
Okay,
Everybody has
I have
one.
a few, and one of mine has purple in it too. The color purple.
The Color Purple. Okay.
I love The Color Purple. I love Shawshank Redemption. I love
movie.
Aliens. I mean, like, there's
Just watched
not,
that the other night.
There's not, like, I can't lock that into one thing because there's too many genres in there.
give you that.
And films hit you in different ways for different reasons.
Why
you know?
Alien?
Sigourney Weaver, badass.
Alien or Alien?
Alien. And
Aliens.
Aliens, and then from the first two. The
Okay.
third, I just saw the third the other day, and I was like,
Yeah, third one. Yeah, they've been playing
you
a lot.
know,
Yeah.
it was like,
I
you
agree.
know, they were basically like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got everybody on board.
Yeah.
But she's such a badass, and the way she opened up the world of, I think, the way people see women in that genre, like that. Come on now,
Yeah.
she just shut it down.
She killed it.
She killed it.
She killed the game.
You know, so
She did that.
She's the original
She did
warrior.
it. She really did it.
What was the worst date you ever had? And what happened on that
Okay.
date?
Wow.
I can see that just still in your memory right now.
I was working with Missy Elliott in New York, and we were downtown somewhere.
What project was it on?
It was a Missy Elliott tour,
Okay.
and I remember being we were like in a recording studio because we had like all of our guys and the singers, and I remember we had a break, and I stepped out, and there was a really attractive guy, and I thought like, oh, and I walked by, and there was a very faint voice, and I thought, oh, I'm sorry, I keep hitting this mic. It was a very faint voice, and I thought like, did he just say something? And I was like, no, it wasn't him. And then I walked back, and it was, but he had a very feminine voice, and I just thought like, oh, wow, that really does not match with who you are.
Right,
But
right.
it's all good, right? So he eventually like kind of was like, I'd love to take you out to dinner. I'm like, great, cool. So we go out to dinner. We go out to dinner, and I'm hanging out with this guy, and I couldn't put a finger on what was going on. And there was just a moment,
Oh.
where I was like, this dude is gay.
Oh.
This dude was gay, and I don't really know. I was so confused as to what, I don't know if it was, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I was so confused about the whole
See
thing. And, I didn't want to, of course, he clearly was living this other life, but I didn't want to like out
Act
him
like-
if
yeah.
he didn't, But I remember just kind of thinking, like, why did you ask me out? I remember
Right.
thinking, like, I kept asking, like, trying to get to. He's like, I thought you were very attractive, and like, so what? Tell me about your last girlfriend, like. But I remember driving home, going, how is it that now I'm dating gay men? How did I end up here? So I just remember kind of thinking, like, wow, yeah,
That's it.
that was that was a rough one.
What's your favorite item in your closet right now?
Ooh. I have this really beautiful black BCBG dress. It's like this sheath. It's stunning, and it comes down into like a V, and then there's this lace thing that goes across. And it was one of the dresses that was brought in for the show that I ended up snagging. I was like, I'm taking you, me. And it's stunning, and so hopefully you'll see it on a red carpet somewhere soon.
And you may have answered this question, but maybe not. Your most embarrassing moment.
All right. So I'm in Queens. I'm in New York, and there was a friend of mine, Zelma Davis, lived over in Elmhurst, and I left her house, and I was hungry, and I was like, and I passed a Nathan's. I'm like, oh, Nathan's, I'll go to Nathan's. And then, and this was a time when I could eat whatever I wanted. And so I was like, there was a Nathan's, and then there was a Carvel's right next door. So I went to go get some ice cream over there. I went to order Nathan's, then I went to go over to Carvel's to get the ice cream. But they were about to close, so I get the ice cream, and I had this baseball hat on, and I was walking, and they were connected, right? But it wasn't the same store, obviously. So I'm like, ooh, I was like, okay, I grabbed my ice cream, and I did not even realize they had closed a glass partition because they were closing.
Yeah.
Boom! I mean, like as hard as I didn't even realize you could be walking that fast. That like, I mean, the sound effect was like, and there was a table of guys that fell, like when I say fell out on the floor.
I mean, they didn't even check to see if you were okay
on
first before
the
they left.
floor, and I couldn't even be mad because it was so bad. It was like, boom. I mean, like it. I will never forget that moment. I was like, and I was just like, oh man. But I had to go get my chicken nuggets from
Hey,
the
listen.
Nathan, that little hot dog nuggets. So,
You kept
embarrassed
moving.
or not, I
Listen.
walked around and I was like, yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
mad at
guys,
you.
I get it. Let me get my nugget. I was
eat
out
this
the
ice
door. I got a knot on my head, but I'm gonna eat this right here. You know?
I like that. All right, Courtney, what do you got for her?
So we have a little game we call Hire, Fire, Casting Couch.
Wow.
So who would you hire? Who would you fire? And who would you play with on the couch?
Oh, wow.
Okay, your choices
this
are.
is dangerous. Okay, all right.
Your choices are
Okay.
the lovely, the talented Idris Elba,
How did I know that was coming?
Oh,
the lovely, the talented Robert Downey Jr.,
mm-hmm.
and the lovely, talented, maybe slightly crazy Kanye West.
Hire, fire, casting.
I would hire Robert because he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would fire Kanye. God bless him.
God bless him.
That's all we'll say.
Insurance.
Yes.
Yeah. Insurance, liability. Yeah.
Incredibly talented as well, but
Oh,
you
A
know,
little
amazing.
risky.
insurance,
Yeah.
yeah. A little risky.
Yeah.
And I believe Idris, I would
You guys would discuss things on the couch.
You would discuss. You would have a conversation on the couch.
Yes.
A conversation.
ups and downs of the acting business.
Yeah.
That's what we would do together.
Lovely.
Ups and downs of the
Ups
acting business.
and downs.
That's
Ups and downs.
very nicely put.
There you go.
Nadine.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
nicely put.
I mean, you guys, I was on my very best behavior when I had to shoot that.
I
It was
know,
just
I
me and
believe
him in a car, and then he kept talking to me in that damn English accent. I was like, "Stop talking! You're killing me right now."
You're like, lines what?
What?
Lines?
Who? Where?
I'm a
What?
professional.
Yeah.
I can do this.
I
I
can do
can
this.
do
Enters
this.
in. Enters
Yes.
in. Enters in.
All right, so we're gonna play a word association. So I'm gonna say a word, and you're gonna tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
New York.
Home.
Kardashian.
That is a word.
That's a statement
That,
on its own.
I don't even think I need an answer for that one.
There it is.
Red toilet paper.
I just fabulous.
I'll explain why later.
Okay.
Chris Brown.
Oh.
Ann Coulter.
Oh.
I like these. This is good. Nicole Scherzinger.
Your silence actually says so much.
Okay.
It's not.
I'm gonna say on that one. Yeah.
Sabotage. And I wrote that because you had a good sabotage
Right,
story.
right. I was on a mini tour with Ricky Martin, and he had a costume designer. She wasn't the designer. She was like a costume person who had been with him for years, and she was an older woman, probably in her 60s. But it was clearly like she felt he was hers. Like she was like, "This is my man, and you should all know that." And everybody's cool with that, right? And we were all like, "What?" You know. And I had a number with Ricky. Where it was just he and I, and I was the song was about a sultry temptress or whatever, and so the whole number was me dancing towards him and like on the floor and all this stuff, and at the very end I'd kind of like get really close to him, and this one night we opened in Puerto Rico, and we'd been doing it like for probably like we'd rehearsed a few times and maybe we'd done the show one other time. And that night he was just feeling it and he grabbed me and kissed me, and I was like. I remember coming out of it, and I was supposed to, at the very end of the song, I'd come right up to him, and then I grab his mic, and it went to black. So he kissed me, and I was like, and I started to walk off, and he was like, "Take the mic." I was like, "Thanks." And I just remember I had a very quick change after that, and I was like, kind of stumbled off, like, "What just happened?" And sure enough, I'm like, where? my boots weren't where they're supposed to be. Like my costume was everywhere. Like, and she was the person that helps you with the quick change.
Yeah.
My boots were gone. My top was missing. It was all and I was like, what is happening? And so then someone's like, your boots over here. I sprint to the other side of the stage, get my boots on. I like literally run up on them right before like the music starts, right? And so for the rest of the run, because my friend Gil, who was on, I was like, can you believe that? He was like, honey, that was Sabby. We started calling her Sabby because she
Sabby,
was
'cause-
sabotage. And he thought that was Sabby.
I love that story. See,
So
now,
she will always be
she
sabotage.
will always
in
be
my mind.
sabotage.
Sabby.
Last one, I just have to ask you, from New York, this is a very serious question. Gray's Papaya or Nathan's Hot Dog?
Oh, Grace Papaya.
Thank you.
I'm like,
Amen.
all right. I'm like, can I jump in on this question with you? I'm like, come
Oh,
on.
honey, as soon as I get home, I'm like, okay, 72 Broadway,
I know,
or
that's
I'm over
right.
by 8. You know, like I'm
Always
just
consistent.
I got to jump in and get it.
Now, where can
You
your
know?
fans find you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Nadine Ellis on Facebook, at Nadine Ellis on Twitter, and on Instagram at Diva Ellis.
Diva.
Diva Ellis.
Courtney? Uh-oh. Do you want to dance off real quick?
Okay.
You want? I think we should do
I
it.
don't know if I'm wearing the right.
But we'll do a soft one.
Okay.
A soft
You
one.
have
We'll
to
go
do it.
a soft dance
All
off.
right.
We're gonna do a quick little dance off.
Okay,
really
we're
quick.
watching.
All right, ready?
All right, good.
Thank you guys for letting us
Thank you.
do the dance off. I can't even get my earphones on. I'm so excited. I'm about to get my Thriller dance on
It
now.
was like, I'm not done.
I'm not done yet.
There's
Okay,
more.
Courtney, where can your fans find you?
On Twitter, at Stuart Starlet.
At DJ Jesse J.
I'm Daryl Christian. You can find me not on a Thriller video, but on at Daryl Christian at Facebook and Twitter. Be sure to tune in next week for Black Hollywood Live Portraits. We're gonna have Christophe St. John from from CBS's Young and the Restless. I'm so excited. I don't even know where I'm at anymore. Thank you guys. We had Nadine Ellis. She was unbelievable. Be sure to watch her on Tuesday nights at 10:30 on BET for Let's Stay Together. 3rd season. Unbelievable.
Hey.
See you next week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Dario Kristen, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network. If you have questions or comments, tweet us at BHL Online or email us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. For more exclusive content, visit blackhollywoodlive.com. This has been a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network. The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.